I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, the shadowed figure standing beyond the fence at the storage facility. His posture calm, unhurried. Like he wasn't surprised to see us. Like he expected it. I didn't tell Cross. She had enough on her plate, cataloging the evidence we'd found in Unit 47B, filing official reports she knew would be met with raised brows and quiet obstruction. The tapes, the ledgers, the recordings, they were more than just receipts. They were declarations of war against a network that had operated in the shadows for decades. But I kept thinking about the way that man stood. Like he knew me. Like he wasn't there for the unit. He was there for me. The next morning I dropped Lana off at Callie's. She greeted us at the door, wearing her signature oversized t-shirt and tight bun, equal parts chaos and warmth. Pancakes and cartoons, that's the plan, she said, hugging Lana close. You go do whatever weird detective thing you and Cross are doing. I forced a smile. You sure you're okay watching her today? Callie gave me that look, the one that said I was being ridiculous. Emma, this kid is the only human I'd willingly wake up early for on a Saturday. Go. I kissed Lana on the forehead and forced myself to leave, even as something inside me begged to stay. Cross picked me up near the courthouse. Her energy was off, more clipped, more quiet. She didn't play the radio. Didn't even sip from her usual gas station coffee. I waited until we were a few blocks into the drive. You're angry, I said. She sighed. Not at you. Then what? She glanced at me, then back at the road. Someone tried to access your husband's police report last night. I felt my throat tighten. What? Internal system. Someone tried to override the redaction settings and failed. But they were close. Could it be Darrow's people? Maybe. Maybe someone else. But someone's following the trail. They know we found something. I looked out the window, the city passing in gray blurs. I think someone was watching us at the storage unit. She tensed. A man. Didn't move. He was outside the fence, just waiting. Cross didn't speak for a moment. Then, why didn't you say anything? Because I thought I imagined it. Or maybe I didn't want to believe it was real. She nodded. You believe me now? Yes, I whispered. I do. We returned to the precinct later that afternoon to find the evidence room sealed. Cross swore under her breath and flashed her badge to a rookie officer posted outside. Who ordered this? Captain Boudreau. Said there's an internal hold pending chain of custody review. Cross pulled me aside. That's bull. They're locking us out. But we gave them everything. We gave them enough to make someone nervous, she snapped, then caught herself. Sorry. I've seen this before. When the truth threatens to outgrow the lie, someone always scrambles to bury it. What about the files? I asked. The ones we didn't hand over yet? They're safe. I moved them. Where? Somewhere no one would dare look. Her eyes flicked with a quiet fire. My ex-husband's lake house. I blinked. You still have access? Divorce didn't cancel the security code, she said with a shrug. And he owes me more than he thinks. We laughed, a dry, exhausted kind of laugh, but it was enough to remind me we weren't powerless. Not yet. That evening I went back to Callie's to pick up Lana. She was curled on the couch under a blanket, head in Callie's lap, eyes glued to some animated chaos on the screen. Callie stood and met me in the kitchen. Everything okay? Define okay, I murmured. She handed me a glass of water, then dropped her voice. Lana asked about her dad again. Said she had a dream he was in the house last night. I froze. She said he was standing by the door. Just watching. I gripped the counter. She's never said that before. No, Callie frowned. And the thing is, I heard something last night too. Like someone jiggling the back gate. I thought it was the wind, but now. Did you check? I did. No one was there. But that didn't mean no one had been. My head was spinning. I wanted to pull Lana into my arms and lock every door in the house. But that wouldn't stop whoever was circling us. Because it wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about secrets. And someone was trying very, very hard to make sure they stayed buried. I didn't sleep. I sat in the hallway just outside Lana's room, clutching an old aluminum softball bat Callie had stuffed in her coat closet years ago. Just in case one of my crazy exes shows up again, she used to say. Every creak in the floor. Every gust of wind against the siding. Every passing car made my nerves twitch. I wasn't paranoid. Not anymore. We were being watched. By whom and for how long I didn't know. But my gut screamed the same thing over and over. Someone had gotten sloppy. Someone had gotten bold. At 6:43 a.m. my phone buzzed. A single message from Cross. Meet me. No. Don't bring your phone. I left Lana with Callie again. She didn't ask questions this time. Just nodded grimly and hugged me harder than necessary. I ditched my phone at a 24-hour laundromat, wrapping it in a sweater and sliding it into a stranger's dryer before heading to the meetup spot, an old pier near the edge of East Lake. Cross was already waiting, wearing jeans and a hoodie, her hair braided back tight. No badge. No gun. Just an envelope in her hand and eyes that looked like she hadn't slept either. I pulled another name from the tapes, she said before I could even greet her. It was buried deep. Audio distortion. I boosted the levels and, well, you'll want to sit. I didn't. She handed me the envelope. Inside, a photo. Grainy, taken from what looked like a security feed. A man maybe in his mid-40s with sunken eyes and a narrow jawline. Next to it, a name, Adrian Valente. Who is he? Cross hesitated. He's Francesca's brother. I blinked. No, her brother's name was Marco. I met him at the wedding. She had brothers, Emma. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a second sheet. A police report dated 13 years ago. Charges. Armed robbery, attempted manslaughter, obstruction. Location, Detroit. She was estranged from Adrian. Didn't tell most people about him. He ran with the Suval syndicate until he got pinched. Did 10 years upstate. Got out 2 years ago. My skin prickled. Cross continued, you know what else I found? He was working security for a private logistics company the same year Sam started having sudden income boosts. What kind of logistics? The kind that don't leave paper trails. The implications twisted in my chest like a blade. This wasn't just about Francesca being manipulative or greedy. This was about family. A bloodline tied to a larger operation. One that spanned cities and decades. Sam hadn't just fallen into debt. He'd fallen into a trap. Adrian's name appeared in at least 3 of the ledgers we found in Unit 47B, Cross added. Payments labeled maintenance and pickup. I think he was the enforcer. I looked again at the photo. The man's expression was unreadable, but something about him felt familiar. That stillness. That eerie calm. My stomach dropped. He's the one I saw by the fence. Cross nodded slowly. That's my guess too. So why isn't he in prison now? Why not take him in? Because as far as anyone official is concerned, Adrian Valente doesn't exist. His records are sealed. The aliases he uses are clean. And if he's back in town now, he's not just passing through. He's tying up loose ends. Cross's face darkened. Exactly. We sat there for a while, the wind off the lake sharp and silent. I thought about Lana. About how she said she saw her father standing in the doorway. About Callie hearing the gate rattle. About the way my front porch light had flickered for no reason 2 nights ago. Something I dismissed at the time. What does he want? I asked finally. I think he's trying to find out what you know. What you've handed over. What you're keeping. He's a shadow operator. They work best in silence. But Francesca's dead. What would be left to protect? Cross met my gaze. The structure. The people above her. Maybe even someone in law enforcement. Your husband was the weak link. A desperate man with access and nothing to lose. Francesca gave him direction. But Adrian. She exhaled. He gives consequences. Later that night I stared at the key Cross had pressed into my hand. Go there tomorrow, she'd said. It's time you knew everything. I hadn't asked what there was. I didn't need to. Her ex-husband's lake house was apparently more than a safe house. It was where Cross had stored the rest of the files. The unredacted, unshared tapes. The full archive. I sat on the edge of Lana's bed and watched her sleep. Her chest rose and fell with the same peaceful rhythm it had since she was a baby. In that moment she was the only real thing in the world. And I would burn down every lie, every syndicate, every haunted memory just to keep her safe. Adrian Valente had made a mistake showing his face. He reminded me of who the enemy really was. And I was done being afraid. The gravel crunched beneath my tires as I pulled up to the lake house. Dawn hadn't broken yet. The sky was still ink dark, and the air was heavy with that eerie stillness just before the birds begin their chorus. Cross's key felt cold in my palm. I parked, turned off the engine and listened. Nothing. No cars. No voices. No footsteps. Just the groaning of trees and the lapping of water in the distance. I scanned the driveway, the porch, the tree line. No signs of Adrian. Not yet. I let myself in. The lake house was more modern than I expected. All glass and clean lines with sparse furniture and an almost sterile design. Cross had once lived here with her ex-husband during her undercover days. Apparently, he'd had expensive taste and a need for isolation. It made sense now why she trusted this place. No neighbors. No cameras. No paper trail. Still, I kept my hand wrapped tightly around the pepper spray in my coat pocket as I moved through the rooms. The note Cross had left me in the envelope was simple. In the study. Behind the third drawer. Use the code Lana92. I found the study easily. Bookshelves from floor to ceiling. A large oak desk with leather trim. A painting of some nameless shoreline over the fireplace. I went to the desk, pulled the third drawer. It slid out halfway and stopped with a mechanical click. A keypad revealed itself behind a wooden panel. I hesitated. Then typed. A9-2. Another click. A small portion of the wall behind the desk swung open. What I saw inside nearly buckled my knees. It wasn't just a vault. It was a shrine of evidence. Photos. Tapes. Burned CDs. Thumb drives labeled with names, dates, amounts. Folders stamped with legal emblems. There were even voice memos, dozens of them stacked in a binder with a worn sticker that read, Sam audio logs. My husband's voice. I reached for the topmost disc, slipped it into the portable player resting in the safe. My hands shook as I pressed play. If you're hearing this, it means I'm either dead or too far gone to stop what's coming. Emma, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I don't even know if you should. But I need you to know this wasn't all about the money. My breath caught. Francesca said she could fix it. Fix everything. The debts. The house. Lana's future. But she lied. Or maybe she believed her own lies. I signed something I didn't read, and before I knew it, I was part of something bigger. Something I couldn't walk away from. They threatened you, Lana. My parents. I let it go too far. There was a pause. A ragged exhale. Then they sent Adrian. My knees gave out. I dropped into the desk chair, listening as Sam, my Sam, explained in broken detail how Francesca's older brother, his brother had been brought in to monitor him, then eventually to control him. He described Adrian as cold, methodical, and unshakable. I should have told you. But you loved me. And I loved you. Help me, I did. That's why I chose the anniversary. My heart stopped. They said it had to be that night. The insurance clause would mature the next day, and they needed access to your power of attorney. Tears flooded my eyes. I hit pause, hands trembling. He was just following orders. Cowardly, yes. Desperate, absolutely. But not the mastermind. I pressed play again. The plan was to frame me as the grieving widower, collect the money, disappear. But the day before I found out I was dying. Brain tumor. Glioblastoma. 6 months, maybe less. Everything started falling apart in my head. The math. The ethics. The lies. And then I panicked. Another deep breath. You didn't take the wine. I don't know how you knew, maybe you did. Maybe fate just finally chose you. And when Francesca collapsed, I realized. I could never come back from this. I'm sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry. The recording ended. I sat there numb for a long time. The truth unraveled around me like a frayed rug. And Adrian had been behind it all. Every threat. Every silent move. He was the wolf in the dark. And now that Francesca was dead, he was probably watching, waiting, to see who had the tapes, who had the leverage. I did. And I wasn't running anymore. When I stepped out of the lake house, I felt different. Plumber. Tarper. There was a war coming, and I finally had armor. I pulled out the flash drive labeled Adrian Saval 2017 and slipped it into my pocket. Let him come. This time I'd be ready. The weight of the flash drive in my coat pocket felt heavier than it should have, like it carried more than just evidence. It carried ghosts. And the bitter echo of Sam's voice still clung to my skin like damp air. I didn't know how long I'd been sitting in the car after leaving the lake house. At some point, the first sliver of sunrise began to stretch across the horizon, turning the lake to molten gold. It would have been beautiful if my heart weren't pounding from the truth I had just unearthed. I reached for my phone and dialed Callie. She picked up on the second ring. "You okay?" "I need to come by," I said, my voice hoarse. "Yow." There was a pause, then the gentle rustling of movement on her end. "Lana's still asleep. You'll be safe here." "I'm not coming to hide," I said, the adrenaline rising again. "I need your help." The drive into town was quiet, the streets just beginning to stir. My hands gripped the steering wheel with more force than necessary. I kept checking my rearview mirror, half expecting to see Adrian's black SUV trailing behind me, but it was clear. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were on me. By the time I pulled into Callie's driveway, my nerves were on fire. She opened the door before I even knocked, still wearing her robe, her hair in a messy bun. The sight of her, normal, safe, warm, almost broke me. "I made coffee," she said, stepping aside. I walked in and closed the door behind me. The security system beeped as it rearmed. Lana's laughter drifted faintly down from the hallway upstairs, light and innocent, the kind of sound that made my chest ache. For her, all of this was still just a strange disruption. A confusing chapter in her childhood. And I would die before I let it stain her future. "She asked about you early this morning," Callie said, handing me a mug. "Said you seemed far away the last time she saw you." I took the mug and looked down at the swirling dark liquid. I admitted. "But I'm not anymore." We sat at the kitchen island as I laid everything out. The lake house, the safe, the recordings. Sam's confession. Francesca's betrayal. Adrian's name scribbled across files and tapes like some kind of puppet master signature. When I showed her the flash drive labeled Adrian Suval 2017, she leaned forward. "That's the construction firm's scandal," she murmured. "Suval Corporation." There were whispers about mob laundering through subcontractors and real estate. But the case disappeared before it went public. I nodded. Because Adrian made it disappear. And Sam, he must have recorded this as leverage. Insurance. Callie looked at me over the rim of her cup. "What are you going to do with it?" "I need to know what's on it. But I'm not plugging it into any device at home. Not without protection. For all I know, it's bugged. Or traced." "Good," she said. "Because I have someone who can help." I blinked. "What?" "I didn't tell you this before," she said, lowering her voice. "But my cousin Evan, he's a cybercrime consultant. Worked with Homeland Security for a while. Keeps a low profile, but he's brilliant. He owes me a favor." "Will he meet me?" "He'll meet us." She smiled. "I'm not letting you walk into this alone." Something warm cracked inside me. 4 weeks now I'd been crawling through darkness, surrounded by lies and half-truths. But here in Callie's kitchen, with her confidence and loyalty anchoring me, I felt something close to solid ground. "Callie," I said quietly. "Yeah. If something happens." "No," she cut me off sharply. "Don't talk like that. You're not dying. You're not vanishing. And nothing is going to happen to Lana. Not on my watch." I swallowed hard. Upstairs we heard the soft thump of footsteps. Lana's small voice called, "Aunt Callie?" "I'll go," she whispered, touching my arm. "You stay here. Breathe." I watched her disappear down the hall, and suddenly the tears came, not from fear, not from pain, but from gratitude. For the first time in weeks I wasn't alone. An hour later we were on the road. Evan lived 2 towns over, in a secluded property tucked behind thick pines and a digital gate. When he opened the door, I was surprised to see a man in his mid-30s, barefoot, with a sarcastic grin and eyes that scanned like they were always 5 steps ahead. He led us into a minimalist office where every device had encryption stickers and military-grade firewalls. "Flash drive only?" he asked, snapping on gloves. I nodded. He inserted it into an air-gapped machine and began scanning. The screen lit up with folders, documents, audio logs, GPS data, and something labeled Camerondicht. "Looks like your guy was into surveillance," Evan muttered. "Who's Adrian?" "Enemy number 1, I said. He clicked open the video files. And there was grainy footage. My house. My car. Even Callie's backyard. "You're being watched," Evan said grimly. And not just recently. These go back months. Years maybe. Callie's face turned pale. I felt the blood drain from mine. And this, he added, pointing to a thumbnail of a dark room, isn't your house. That's a live feed. Someone's watching this now. We leaned in, sitting at a desk, staring at a wall of monitors. One of them was me, walking into Callie's house this morning. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My image stared back at me from the surveillance screen, blurry but unmistakably me, walking into Callie's house just this morning. My coat, my hair, the nervous glance over my shoulder. Oh my, I whispered. He's watching, right now? Evan's fingers flew across his keyboard, opening diagnostics, firewalls, tracers. This isn't just a camera feed, he said grimly. It's a remote stream. Whoever set this up has access to multiple endpoints. Your house. Your daughter's school. Even this one is piggybacking on a neighbor's Wi-Fi. Smart, masked. But not invisible. Callie backed up slowly, her face pale. You mean Adrian's been spying on all of us? Feels more like he's been hunting, Evan muttered. And he's got serious help. The room felt like it was tilting sideways. I clutched the edge of the desk. How long? I asked. How long has he been doing this? Evan clicked into metadata. This particular stream? 18 months. I felt the blood drain from my face. 18 months. Before the anniversary dinner. Before Francesca's death. Before Sam's unraveling even began. It wasn't paranoia. It was a plan. Sam didn't just fall into bad choices. He was groomed. Pressured. Controlled. Adrian had been playing all of us. Long before I knew his name. Emma, Evan said slowly, there's something else. He pulled up another folder labeled, Intake, Theta Files. Inside were audio recordings, transcribed logs, and encrypted voice memos. One had my name in the subject line. Emma Vale, Priority Control Protocol. Control Protocol? Callie asked, alarmed. Evan clicked play. Her schedule remains predictable. Tuesday yoga. Friday grocery. She has not yet become suspicious of subject A's behavior. Reinforcement through Francesca continues. Projected point of collapse, June 22nd. I staggered back. June 22nd, the night of our anniversary. They had planned it. Down to the day. Down to my every move. I wasn't just part of Sam's desperate spiral. I was a target. They had been engineering my breakdown for over a year. I'm going to be sick, I muttered, stumbling toward the bathroom. I sat on the cold tile floor, shaking, while the truth settled in like lead in my bones. Adrian hadn't just corrupted Sam. He had orchestrated the entire nightmare, from financial collapse to emotional manipulation to poisoning me with my own husband's hands. And now, even with Francesca buried and the police investigation narrowing in, Adrian was still out there. Still watching. Still playing. Callie's voice followed. Emma? You're not safe at your house anymore. I nodded. I know. And Lana. She can't go back to school. Not until we're sure no one can get near her. Callie reached for my hands. We'll figure it out. I'll take her somewhere remote. Somewhere no one knows. You're not leaving town, are you? Just long enough to get her off the radar. You need time to work this out without worrying someone's going to snatch her from the playground. The thought made my stomach turn. Will you tell her anything? Callie gave a small smile. Just that her mom is doing what heroes do. Fighting monsters. And that I'll make sure she gets ice cream every single day until you're back. Tears burned the back of my eyes. Thank you. Back in the office, Evan was still typing furiously. He said. I've done what I can for now. I've cloned the contents of the drive to an air-gapped machine, severed the remote connection for the camera feed, and I've got a trace running on Adrian's IP. It's bouncing all over the place. He's using a VPN with military-grade spoofing, but I'll get something eventually. Can you disable his access to my house cameras? I can do better. I can feed him what I want him to see. I stared at him. He grinned. You ever wanted to bait a shark? That night I still didn't go home. Instead I stayed in Callie's guest room while she and Lana packed quietly for a sleepover trip to her cousin's lake cabin. Lana was giddy, dragging her little suitcase behind her, none the wiser. I hugged her tight before they left, memorizing the way her curls smelled like vanilla and shampoo. I watched them drive away under the cloak of dusk, my heart thudding like it might never be whole again until she was back in my arms. Once they were gone, I went to Evan's setup. On the screen, Adrian's hidden feed now showed a dimly lit version of my living room. My shadowy silhouette moved across it occasionally, reading a book, sipping wine. It wasn't me. It was a looped simulation. Let's make him believe I've fallen right into his trap, I said. Evan looked at me. What's your next move? I give Adrian exactly what he wants, I said darkly, and make him think he's already won.